Welcome back to part 3 of this story. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, it is recommended you watch them first to understand what is happening in the story. There will be a link in the description below. Enjoy the story. When I eventually got up from my bed, I decided that I had to do something. I was still in the body the woman had put me into. It just didn't feel right. I desperately wanted to be back in my own male body. I started to really think to myself. I was determined to come up with something that could swap me and my little brother back. After a lot of thinking, I decided to try and replicate the hand movements and words spoken by the woman before I got swapped. I thought that if she had said those words to transform me into a girl, maybe me saying them again would end up reversing it, turning me back into myself. I'll be honest, I wasn't that confident that it would work, especially after my fusion powers had stopped working. I decided that it was worth a try, though. What's the worst that could happen? I slowly repeated the words that the woman had said, praying that something would happen. A few seconds after I had finished speaking, I noticed a strange sensation running through my body. Oh my God. It must be working, I said, filled with joy. After a few more seconds had gone past, I finally decided to look down at my body. My body had changed, but just not in the way I had expected or hoped for. I was still a girl, just a different one than before. I was pretty confused by it all, so I stood up and walked over to my full-length mirror. When I saw my reflection, I got a big shock. There's no way this has happened. I can't believe it, I said to myself quietly. The person in the reflection was the same woman who had caused this all to happen. I was in her body. I spent a few minutes standing in front of my mirror in shock. I didn't know what to do or say. Eventually, though, I walked away, going back to sitting on my bed. While I was happy I still had some kind of power, I wasn't happy about what it had done to me. I had to try something else. Before I could try something else, though, I wanted to get out of this body. I repeated the exact words and hand gestures I had performed before, hoping that I would at least swap out of the woman's body. Thankfully, what I did was successful. After a few seconds, my body transformed back into the girl I was before. I was now back at square one. It was time to try something new. After some more thinking to myself, I realized the words I had spoken had more meaning than I'd originally thought. While the words sounded like gibberish in my head, when I spoke them slower out loud, I could work out what was being said. With my new knowledge, I realized I could probably change the words around, causing something different to happen to me. I was really excited over what I had discovered. I was convinced that I would now be able to change into my own body. After adjusting the words to something that I thought would reverse everything, I spoke them out loud with the same hand gestures from before. I was really hoping something would happen, but unfortunately my body stayed the same. I was extremely frustrated by it all. I just wanted to become myself again. After trying some more variations of the sentence, I gave up trying to change back into my own body. I didn't know what the woman had done to me, but I assumed this was deliberate. She probably wanted me to spend the rest of my life as a woman. It made me pretty upset knowing I wouldn't ever get to be a guy again. I didn't know what to do. I spent a while sulking in my room over it all. There was a lot I had to think about. After a while, though, I decided to try some other things. I now knew that I would never become a guy again, but maybe I could transform into other girls. It was an interesting idea that I really wanted to explore. I decided that I would use the same sentence that originally transformed into the woman. However, I would add the name of a girl I wanted to transform into at the end. I was hoping I would then transform into that girl. When I eventually said the sentence, I added my friend Mia's name onto the end. After a few seconds, I felt my body transform. When I eventually built up the courage to look down at my body, I was thrilled to see that I really had switched into Mia's body. Even if I can't become a guy again, I'm still glad I can transform myself. It's better than nothing, I said to myself, trying to see the bright side of what had happened. Over the next hour, I tried transforming into many other girls. I honestly had a really good time. It was fun switching into the bodies of girls I had known, especially the ones I liked. Eventually, though, I got bored of it all. There was only so much fun to have when you were becoming other people. Now that I knew I could still transform myself, I became curious if I could do anything else. I spent a few more hours trying different variations of the sentence, trying to see if anything else would work. After a while, I had tried hundreds of variations, but nothing had worked. At least that was until I tried variation that incredibly adjusted my memory. It caught me by surprise when it happened. I really wasn't expecting it to work. I felt my memories inside my head begin changing. It terrified me and caused me to start panicking. While I was freaking out, I decided to say the sentence again. I was hoping that it would reverse it like it had when I was in the woman's body. Fortunately for me saying the sentence again did reverse what I had done. I felt my own memories begin to return. Wow, that was a close one, I said to myself. Now that I knew I could alter my memories, it caused me to start thinking about whether or not I could use it on other people. I was especially interested in using it on my mom. I had already accepted that I would be living as a girl from now on, something I knew my mom wouldn't understand at all. However, if I adjusted my mom's memory, maybe I could get her to believe my little brother and I had always been girls. It was an interesting idea that I really wanted to test out. Before trying it out on my mom, though, I thought it would be best to try it on my little brother, just to see if it would work. I walked back out of my room into the living room where our ordeal with the woman had taken place. My little brother, who was still in a female toddler's body, was right where I had left him. I couldn't help but feel pity for him. Despite him manipulating me the previous day, I still felt bad for him. I decided that I would try and change his body before adjusting his memory. Seeing him as a toddler didn't feel right at all. After a few seconds, I said the body transform sentence. This time, though, I directed it at him. I chose to transform his body into an 8-year-old girl's one. He probably wouldn't be happy being that young, but I really didn't care. A few moments after I had said the sentence, his body changed from a toddler's to the 8-year-old's body I had planned. "Oh my God, yes, I can speak and move again," he said happily. After a few moments, however, he realized he wasn't nearly as old as he thought he was. That caused him to start complaining to me. I just ignored him, instead saying the sentence that adjusted his memory. I made sure to only change what I had to. I made him remember himself as a girl and as an 8-year-old. It was all that was necessary. After around a minute, I could tell that it had finished. He was no longer complaining about his age anymore. Instead, he got up and started walking back to his room. Perfect. Now that I know it works on other people, I'll be able to do it to my mom, I said while grinning. The last thing I did that day was once again transform my body. I was still in Mia's body and decided I probably should change into someone else, preferably someone I didn't know very well. I started thinking about who would be the best person to transform into. They obviously needed to be attractive, but they also needed to be somebody who didn't live in the same area as me. I couldn't become someone in the same area as me because transforming into them didn't remove them from the world. What I mean is, if I live as them in the same area as them, we would probably run into each other at some point. I would then have to explain why I looked identical to another girl in the same city as me. After a while thinking, I decided who I would do it with. She was an incredibly good-looking girl who lived 2 states away from me. I had met them while on vacation a few years ago, causing us to become friends. We hadn't been in contact for a while, but I still followed her on social media. I had a quick look at her social media to double-check she was still attractive. I can confirm that she was. That decided it for me. I began reciting the sentence to transform my body into hers. Once I had finished, I waited a few seconds for the transformation to occur. Once it had, I looked down at my body and was thrilled to see that it had worked. I immediately went over to my mirror to see my new body. When I saw what I looked like, I was really happy. It was perfect. I was now a blonde girl with a curvy body and beautiful face. It almost made living as a girl worth it. After I had finished admiring myself, I decided it was time to go to sleep. I went back to my bed and slid under the sheets before slowly drifting off asleep. When I woke up the next morning, I tried my best to go through my morning routine with my new body. It was pretty different for me. Everything I usually did now had more steps because of my new body. Eventually, I did finish, though, allowing me to finally spend some time relaxing. I was in my room scrolling through Instagram on my phone when I got a message from my mom. I quickly opened it to see what it said. The message was short, but very useful for me. "Hi, Eric. I'll be home within the next hour. Looking forward to seeing you," it read. I sent back a short reply to acknowledge the message. I then started planning what I would do once she arrived back. I quickly decided that the second I saw her, I would alter her memory. She would be confused at first, but once my powers started to work, things would get better. It wasn't going to be easy, but I didn't have much of a choice. After I finished briefing myself on what I was planning on doing, I began patiently waiting for my mom to arrive home. Eventually, I heard a car pull into our driveway. She was home. I quickly moved from my room to the hallway near where our front door was. I then began anxiously waiting. When she eventually opened the door and walked into our house, I quickly began the process, speaking the sentence and gesturing my hand towards her. By the time my mom had even realized what had happened, the mind alteration process had begun. She was confused to see me at first, but things quickly changed. After around 30 seconds, she seemed completely normal. She came over to me and greeted me as if nothing had changed. I was glad what I had done had worked. I happily went over to my mom and hugged her. I was glad everything had worked out. My mom and I talked briefly to each other about her trip and some other things before I happily went back to my room. I was now in a really good mood. After getting back to my room, I thought about the future and what was coming. While I was initially nervous to live as a girl, I had quickly gotten used to it and was looking forward to what life had in store for me. Over the next couple of years, things went unbelievably well for me. My first year as a girl saw me graduating from high school and getting my first job with a modeling agency. When I was a guy, I had always dreamed of becoming a race car driver. But now that I was a girl, I realized that I really wanted to become a model. Thanks to how good-looking I was, I didn't struggle very much getting a job as a model. After getting the job, I started out slowly learning the basics and participating in some photo shoots. It was a lot of fun for me. After my first year with the agency, I started to rise the ranks quickly, getting a lot more photo shoots and beginning to earn a lot more money. It was a lot of work, but I honestly loved every second of it. I couldn't have been much happier. My life had gone so well for me. It's funny how that woman tried to ruin everything for me, but ended up improving things. It was a satisfying feeling that I loved. I also did still have the powers that had caused me to become female. I just chose not to use them. They had almost ruined my life. I decided that if I didn't use them, things would be a lot more normal. I hadn't done anything with them since the day I altered my mom's memory. Right now, I'm only halfway through my 20s. I still have a lot to look forward to in life. I can't wait to see what the future holds for me, especially if it's better than what's currently happening in my life. Thanks for watching this video. More videos will be coming very soon. We would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel to support us. Thanks for watching.